Hey, good evening, everybody. How is Des Moines, Iowa? Did you guys survive that, the tail end of what probably was the tragic, terrible storms down in Oklahoma that have claimed about 91 people? I want to just take a quick moment to discuss that, but I want to welcome everyone to the show. My name is Lefty. You're listening to the Doc and Lefty program here on WebcastOneLive.com. We are live streaming a video podcast that usually is uploaded to YouTube the next day. We're here in the beautiful Webcast One Live studios in downtown Des Moines.
With a fresh coat of paint.
With a fresh coat of paint. But they can't see the paint because we got the green screen up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I want to...
Trust me, it's beautiful.
I want to welcome you. I want to say hi to my good friend Doc here across the table from me. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Again, I posted it on Facebook today. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those in Oklahoma City. This is the second time in 10 years that they've gotten pounded like this. And there's been, strangely enough, there's debate over the size of the tornado. I wish we just go back to the old days and say, man, that was a damn big tornado.
Well, what did they said something. It was a mile long or mile wide, 300-mile winds almost, and it just devastating.
Move it slow.
The horrible thing that you hear, you always hate it when anybody dies and when there's any casualties, any of these kinds of things. I remember the Joplin tornado had up over 150 casualties. This one, the news media made a point of mentioning that at least 20 kids got killed while taking shelter in their school, and that I can't even imagine anything more awful for a parent than that.
Well, there's on Facebook, there is somebody had posted a interactive video picture where you can take a look at it before and after. Each one of those schools, I'm surprised anybody lived through it.
Yep.
I mean, honest to goodness. I mean, the building that fared the best was the hospital. It still was beat up pretty bad.
Uninhabitable. We got a guest today.
We do have a guest, very special guest, Polk County GOP fundraiser, Daryl Carney, who is a fundraiser extraordinaire, has been doing this since, Methuselah.
Abraham
Lincoln, at least. A very good friend of my dad's. They used to pal around, do a whole lot of politicking together way back when. Daryl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Pat. Thank you for asking.
You got this big thing coming up. What is it, Thursday?
Yes, we have our annual Rob Kelly Club dinner coming up Thursday, May 23rd. We have Governor Scott Walker from Wisconsin, who has made quite a name for himself and one of the heroes of the American conservative movement in the United States today. And he'll be our guest speaker. He will be introduced by Governor Branstad, so we're going to have Governor Branstad and Governor Walker at the dinner, and the host reception before dinner. Should be a great program, great event.
Well, that will be terrific. Now, I'd heard rumors that Rand Paul was supposed to show up, but I was wrong about that.
You know what? I haven't heard that. He was just in Iowa about a week ago.
Yeah, that's
over in Cedar Rapids for the Abraham Lincoln dinner for the state party.
All right. Oh, that's right.
It was a tune-up for his 2016 run, which is, in these days, just around the corner.
Just around the corner, I'm telling you. So it's at the Marriott downtown.
No, it's at the Sheraton Hotel in West Des Moines, 50th and University.
Oh, that's nice.
We're doing an event out there. That's more Republican land out there. Easier to get people to turn out when you're in their backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get all those Waukee folks to come to the east side.
That's right.
Well, their east side, I guess.
Yes, their east side, yeah.
Easy parking.
Yeah. I never thought I'd live to see the day when Urbandale was considered the east side of Des Moines.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I remember when we used to live across the street from each other there in the Colby Woods, and now I live over by the golf course. And I've got a buddy that lives on Airline Drive in Urbandale. Whenever he calls me to come over and do something, oh my God, I got to drive all the way to Urbandale.
Oh my goodness! So it's the Rob Kelly dinner. Who is Rob Kelly?
Rob Kelly was the chairman of the board and president of a company called Employers Mutual Insurance Company. His father, I think, was the founder. Maybe it's third generations now. But Rob Kelly was the chairman and CEO of Employers Mutual Insurance Company, which is now called EMC. And he was a great Republican. He loved to raise money for the Republican Party. When I was county chairman of the Republican Party in Polk County, he was my finance chair. and he helped me raise money, and we were very good friends. And we went to the Republican National Convention together when Ronald Reagan ran for president in 1980.
Oh my goodness! So the
Rob
convention
passed away a few years ago. His son Bruce Kelly is the CEO and chairman of the company today. So we decided that we needed to honor Rob Kelly, and so we named this Republican club after Rob, and it's been very, very successful. We have a good following, and we have this event every spring. This is our 4th annual Rob Kelly Club dinner.
All right. So if they want to get tickets to this, are the tickets still available?
Yes, they are. We've sold 800. We still have a few tables available, and so we're still taking ticket orders.
You sold 800 tables or 800
We've sold
tickets?
800 tickets.
All right. So what is that, 80 tables?
That's 80 tables, but we've got probably a little over 600 that have made reservations out of that 800.
Okay. So people are just giving money to support the Republican
Party. They'll host
Party.
the table, they'll host a table and they don't fill it. And they'll maybe fill half of it, and then we have to find other people to fill those tables in.
All right. Well, Blake said he would like to go because I personally
it promises
am hosting
to be
a table.
it's going to be a great program. Our master of ceremonies is going to be Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds.
All right, that's good.
And she'll be introducing all of our guest speakers, which will include Secretary of Agriculture Bill Northey, Secretary of State Matt Schultz, our new state auditor Mary Mosman, who just replaced State Auditor Dave Vaught, who has moved on to greater things.
Pretty cushy gig Mr. Vaught has moved on to.
What did he move on to?
I can't remember. He's working some private deal now.
It's an accounting standards association.
I'm going to
group.
He's on the board now, I think, right? Yeah. Or he's the chairman.
He's
the chairman of the board.
He is the chairman.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
That's a 7-year gig for him.
Wow. Well, I first met Dave Vaught when I was out on the campaign trail. And I had to get up and speak after he spoke. And not only is he a very elegant and eloquent speaker that lays it out clearly, he's got a gifted voice, and he's great looking. So, imagine this mug getting up there going, well, hey, I'm going to talk after this fantastic speech Dave got. I just ask you don't slam the door as you're going. That's what it was like. So, yeah, I'm glad he moved on. I thought maybe he'd be getting geared up to run for Harkin's seat.
He's a great state auditor. Of course, he was a CPA. He had a line in his campaign, I'm the only CPA running for auditor. And
Yeah, absolutely. And
the Democrats put up just a political operative.
You bet. And then, but who do you think's gonna? Well, in fact, we're gonna take a brief commercial break. We'll be back right after this brief message from our sponsors. They allow us to keep the doors open. You're listening to Doc and Lefty every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on webcast1live.com.
Petrosian Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back. This is Lefty with Doc and Lefty. We're sitting here with our special guest, Daryl Carney. We're very happy to have him. We were going to have you on last week, and then you had some stuff come up, and so we're really grateful that you were able to be here with us. I know the Doc wanted to talk a little bit about the local politics, but I had a couple of national Republican sort of questions to ask you.
Okay.
And it seems like it's what's on everybody's mind. All the op-eds in the Des Moines Register, I guess a little bit of the national news is talking about it. Do you it's sort of interesting that? Well, I'll just get to my first question is, do you feel like all of the attention around Steve King he ended up not deciding not to run, froze the senator election and gave Braley too big of a head start to overcome, and in like manner, Tom Vilsack kind of waffling about what he's going to do in 2014 has done the same thing to the Democrats?
I don't think that as far as Steve King waiting a couple of months to make the final decision hurts the process whatsoever in terms of the Republican primary. We have one announced candidate right now. I sometimes think the campaigns have gotten too long, and they start too early.
Yeah.
They become very, very expensive. It gives people some time to kind of sort things out and decide what they want to do. When you're going to run for office, Pat can tell you it's a major decision to be made, and I know that Steve King gave it a lot of thought. And he took his time to do that, talked with his family, went around the state, met with a lot of his friends and party leaders, Republican leaders, conservative leaders, and came to the conclusion, and I think I kind of agree with him, some of the things that he's doing in Congress, some of the projects that he's involved in, I think are so important that for him to walk away from them would have left a vacuum that would not have been filled by anybody else.
Well, from a straight politics standpoint, it always seemed a little weird to me that his name was floated out there, or that he was even considering it, given the fact that he has probably one of the safest districts in the country. And I'm not talking about his motivations. I'm sure that kind of stuff factors into it, and I don't want to ascribe something onto him in that regard. But that he's one of the safest districts in the country. There's no way anybody's beaten him. You know, the closest contender was this last election, and she still lost by 5-6 points.
Right.
He would have to give up his seat to run for the Senate, and I don't think, given the statewide mood in Iowa, that Steve King could have beaten Bruce Braley in a general election. I think that he would have walked away with the primary, but I just don't, especially from some of the more independent districts out in the east side of the state. I think that Steve King would have had a hard time in Dubuque, for example, or Waterloo, and I think that's in Cedar Rapids, especially. I think it would have been tough for him. It seems the same, but it seems the same thing as in 2014. I don't understand why Tom Vilsack's name isn't even being brought up. He loves his job. I know his son. I know Jess a little bit, and whenever I see him, ask him about how his dad's doing, he says he loves it. He loves being the Secretary of Agriculture. He loves going around the world. He loves going around the country talking about stuff. Why he would even consider going back to the governor's mansion against a Terry Branstad who is unbeatable.
Right.
You heard it here probably for the 90th time. A liberal saying Terry Branstad is unbeatable in 2014 if he chooses to run. Of course, if he doesn't,
right.
Yeah,
all bets are off. And what do you think about that?
Well, I do think that Terry Branstad is unbeatable, number one. I think if he decides to run again, he's not going to have a serious challenge from the Democrats, and he's going to be a very strong a leader on the Republican ticket at the top of the ticket, which will bode well for all Republicans all the way down the line. As far as Steve King goes, I disagree with you about his ability to win statewide. I've always believed that you have to, and I'm a solid conservative, so I believe that when you have an election, Republicans need to provide a clear choice between a liberal Democrat and a conservative Republican. You have to give voters a choice, and when you give them that choice, they'll choose less government, they'll choose more individual responsibility, less taxes, less government intrusion. Look at what's happening today. Thomas Jefferson said that a government that fears the people is tyranny, and a government that the people fear is tyranny. And when government fears the people, that's liberty. Today, we're faced with the IRS deliberately, literally attempting to challenge people, to convince them not to get involved, to frighten them off, to intimidate them, as they did after the 2010 loss, that the Obama loss in 2010. They literally had to stop the Tea Party people. They had to stop the conservative movement. They decided to intimidate them with these IRS attacks. They were very successful.
It was successful in what regard?
Very successful intimidating people who backed off, were not nearly as aggressive in 2012 as they were in 2010. And a lot of them are telling you today that we're just now finding out the number of leaders of these conservative groups who were challenged immediately by the IRS. They were audited by the IRS. They were visited by OSHA. They were visited by the Labor Department. You had this guy that gave Mitt Romney $1 million, who was audited 3 times in 1 year by the IRS after that contribution was given, visited by the Labor Department, visited by OSHA. Every government agency you could think of came down on him and his company. That's happened all over the country.
Now, we have one declared candidate for Senate on the Republican side, and that's Matt Whitaker. Being a longtime Republican operative, what kind of obstacles do you think that Matt's going to have to overcome in order to beat Bruce Braley, who obviously has a fundraising lead and obviously has the ability to put together a winning campaign?
Matt Whitaker is a solid conservative. He has pretty good name ID, but not as good as Bruce Braley, obviously. So he's going to have to work on getting his name identification up. Also has got a very tough job of raising the kind of money that's going to be needed to win that election. But I think it's winnable. I think 2014 is going to be a good year for conservative Republicans.
It is an off-presidential year.
It is an off-presidential year to the party in the White House. You look at what's going on today. Obama's numbers aren't looking very good. There's a lot of scandals out there. I think they're trying to get him out of the way early in order to try to do damage repair. This whole thing about the IRS, it was leaked by them. It was leaked by the Obama administration.
Yeah, that was. It
was leaked by the IRS deliberately.
Yeah, it was
to get it out in the open so it didn't get dumped on them this fall.
Yeah. Now what will Matt have to do to make sure he has to solidify the conservative base? One of the things that Blake and I talk about quite a bit on this show is the schism in the Republican Party that essentially pits the libertarians against the old style Republican conservative. How can Matt solidify his conservative credentials? Because he's been criticized several times by very conservative people, and I'm not going to name names, but he's been criticized that he's not conservative enough. How is he going to overcome that?
Well, I'm not aware that he has been criticized that aggressively by conservative groups. I find that
not necessarily by groups, but by individuals.
Whitaker's very conservative, and he's got social conservative credentials. He's got very solid economic conservative credentials. I think it's too early to determine who's going to be the candidate because I think there's going to be a Republican primary. So I think Matt Whitaker. There's going to be maybe 3 candidates in the Republican race for the U.S. Senate.
Who do you think the other 2 are going to be?
I've heard that State Senator Joni Ernst is interested in running. I've heard that former State Senator Rod Roberts is interested in running. We still haven't heard from Secretary of State Matt Schultz, who I expect to make some kind of a announcement soon as to whether he's going to run for the U.S. Senate or whether he's going to stay in the Secretary of State's office.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this Rob Kelly dinner. Now, if people want to get tickets, they get a hold of the Polk County GOP?
Yes, call me at the Polk County GOP, 280-6438.
Can you put that up for us, Frank? And then
280-6438, or you can email me at dcarney, like Kearney, Nebraska.
All right.
KEARNEY at polkgop.com.
All right. And there's still plenty of tickets left. What kind of food's going to be served? I know I'm a fat guy. That's what I always focus on. Blake wants to know, too.
I do want to know.
My menus are always great, and it's going to be a superb meal. The Sheraton Hotel has a very good reputation for putting on very, very good catering.
All right. So how much are individual?
Dessert, coffee, tea.
The whole 9 yards,
And you can buy wine by the bottle.
All right. Now, is there a special VIP thing that you can buy into?
There is. The hosts have a special reception called the host committee reception. And there you get a picture with Governor Walker and Governor Branstad.
All right, great.
If you hosted a table at $1,000,
all right,
which is a table of 10. If you don't want a photo, then the table is $750 because the tickets are $75 a piece.
all right.
So if you buy a table at $750, you still go to the host reception, but you don't get a photo.
Oh, is that it? Oh, you don't get a photo. So you want to bring your smartphone along? Tap, tap, tap. There you go. That's what I see everywhere I go now. All these kids are holding up their phones doing that stuff.
Governor Walker's a great guy, and look what he's done in Wisconsin. He turned that state around. It was running massive deficits under the liberal Democrats. He's now got a surplus like Iowa does. He and Branstad kind of think alike.
Yeah.
They had to deal with the public employees unions that were literally bankrupting the state, bankrupting local governments, local school boards, and they've been able to get that turned around. You know, when he was county commissioner in Milwaukee County, bus drivers were getting paid $125,000 a year. And with tremendous,
you don't think bus drivers are worth $125,000 a year?
No government employee in Wisconsin paid anything toward their health insurance.
Okay.
School teachers had their own health insurance company. If you were a teacher, you had to buy it from their company.
All right. Now, just for a brief moment, I want to talk about another one of our sponsors, Des Moines Anesthesia. They have an office, obviously here in Des Moines and in Fort Dodge. If you're having problems managing your pain, if you're having problems having a physician that will listen to you and take your pain seriously, you can give them a call. Their number is 244-3700, and you can ask for Dr. Iqbal or Dr. Krosky, and they'll be glad to help you. Both these men have a long history of treating pain and pain-related illnesses. Let's get back now a little bit to the Senate race. Do you think any other Democrats are going to come out against Bruce Braley?
I don't think so. That not what I'm hearing. I think Braley's got it. Nobody's going to challenge him.
Okay.
So he's going to be primary free. Personally, I like primaries because I think primaries give candidates an opportunity to have an early run and to test their organization. It helps them organize early.
Yep, and sharpen their message. Right. I mean, I know that's what happened to me. The longer I ran, the more sharper it got.
Right,
you know?
and I remember when Chuck Grassley ran for the U.S. Senate in 1980, I was on his campaign as one of his county chairs as a volunteer. If Grassley had not had the primary with Tom Stoner, he probably would not have beat John Culver.
Yeah, and that's a good point. What do you think? I'm just going to ask you straight out. What is going on with the Iowa Republican Party and this giant peeing contest between AJ Spiker, Mr. Bierstead, I can't remember his first name, Steve, and the county chairs, Governor Branstad. I mean, it's like every time you turn around, they're at each other. What's going on there from your perspective?
I'm focusing on the Polk County Republican Party. My philosophy is if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything.
So who aren't you saying
I
something
really
nice
believe
about?
I think it's important we have to unify the party, Pat.
How are you going to do that? What would be your suggestion?
First of all, libertarians and the Ron Paul people, frankly, I liked Ron Paul.
I liked him a lot too until he
I agree with about 80% of what he had to say and what his beliefs were. I've known Ron Paul for years. And but the organization in Iowa was a little bit different than the congressman himself. And what they wanted, what they believed was that they had to take control of the party apparatus and to control the state central committee and control the party in order to be successful, say, down the road in 2016, possibly. I have not sat down and talked with them about it. But I believe that we, as conservatives, we have to bring people together and we have to unify conservatives and so that we can win elections. You can't have the libertarians going off here, and you can't have the social conservatives going off here, and the economic conservatives going off here. We got to come together like liberal Democrats do. They fight like cats and dogs through a primary process. But when it comes by election day, Democrats are unified behind their candidate. Generally because they're liberal candidates. They believe in liberalism. They believe in the nanny state. And they'll fight tooth and toenail to get them elected. And they've been successful. Conservatives, on the other hand, we have this problem that, well, if you don't think exactly like I do, you just can't come inside my fortress.
Yeah, and I think that was, Blake and I talked a lot about that. That was part of the problem with Mitt Romney, is that he could not solidify his base. And, he spent too much time talking about, moderate issues and alienated the very people that were going to vote for him, And that's...
Well, I supported Mitt Romney in the general, but I was not a Mitt Romney fan in the caucuses. I was a Newt Gingrich guy.
Well, both of us. You're the guy that recruited me, got me my spot as the Polk County chair.
But I'm a believer that once the decision is made, as a good conservative Republican, you
get behind him.
Romney would make a hell of a lot better president today than what we got in there right now.
Well, and you and I agree. Blake thinks
but he wasn't a very good candidate.
No,
but
he wasn't.
Here's
He's
my
terrible.
question, though. This is the question that no conservative has been able to answer for me effectively. This is a process question. If Obama was so terrible, if Obama is so terrible, let's just posit that Obama is the worst thing to happen to the country since the Civil War. Okay. Let's just say that he's this bad guy, and every conservative knew it. Don't you think that every conservative, regardless of how they felt about Mitt Romney, as disillusioned as they were by the pick of Mitt Romney, and I hear a lot of conservatives were, why would they risk the future of the country? And that's what we hear a lot in this conservative rhetoric: the future of the country, with another 4 years of Obama, hating him as much as they do. That's what why not vote for Mitt Romney as the lesser of two evils if you're a conservative? Because what happened was independents swung for Barack Obama and the conservatives stayed home, just like in 2008. And if you have 4 years of Obama, why have another 4 years? Why not go for Mitt Romney? You said it yourself, Mitt Romney would be a better president. Yeah. I've never been able to get that answer.
I don't think conservatives did stay home. I think that you're faced with a situation today where people are voting themselves funds from the public treasury. And you have got a class of voters out there that simply want to vote themselves more government checks, more government payouts. When the tax takers outnumber the taxpayers, you have a very, very close election anymore. And we're rapidly becoming a nation where we are becoming a dependency society. And frankly, the liberals and the socialists and the left-wingers want it that way. They want the masses of people to be dependent upon government and be dependent upon them because that gives them power. And so we're faced with a very serious problem. America is going to either go down the road toward freedom and liberty and individual responsibility, or it's going to go down the road toward socialism and a tyrannical state that those of us in the conservative movement do not want to see.
We're here with Daryl Carney, fundraiser extraordinaire for the Republican Party for 150 years now? Something close to that?
I voted for Barry Goldwater in 1964.
All right, so there you go. We want to thank you, Daryl, for coming on the show. We appreciate your time. We're glad you're feeling better. Remember, PolkCountyGOP.com. No, it's not Polk County. It's PolkGOP.com. And you can go ahead and get some tickets to this event on Thursday night. Or you can Facebook me, Doc and Lefty, and ask for tickets. We'll get you the information for this. We're going to be back right after this break. Please stay tuned and support our sponsors. Listening to Doc and Lefty on WebcastOneLive.com.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I want to give a big thanks to Daryl Carney for coming on for the first half hour of the show, talking a lot about the local events he's got going on, a lot of the GOP stuff that he does around the state. I know that the Iowa Republicans have been fairly pleased with Daryl Carney's work over the last 88 years, and it was interesting to have him on and listen to talk. Of course, I disagree with everything that he had to say, 100%. But I wanted to but I don't want to get into it because I don't want it to sound like I'm picking on him after he leaves.
After he goes. Well, now
I wanted to let him express whatever he had to tell us,
absolutely.
and express his views without me chiming in and starting a big fight.
Well, I kind of expected you to do that. You kind of let me down. But I will tell you, now I have a great respect for Daryl Carney, but I will tell you that Daryl was wrong, specifically on the point of the numbers about the people that came out and voted for Barack Obama. Last week, I got chastised a little bit about the numbers and the way I characterized the people that voted for Obama and the people that he was targeting. But the truth is they're still, the people. The strong liberal base came out. He was right about that the liberals, Democrats get behind their candidate, and regardless of what you think about it ideologically, they put their differences aside and work hard to get their guy elected. And the conservatives don't. The one thing
that I was, I don't know, maybe I was surprised that I wasn't surprised at some of the red meat that Mr. Carney had to dole out to everybody was the doubling, tripling, quadrupling at this point down on the narrative that takers vote for Democrats. And once again, I mean,
depends on the kind of taker.
That was the thing that was one of the things that really sunk Mitt Romney. And to hear a Republican operative come out and double down on that narrative again, to me, and I'm not speaking about Mr. Carney specifically, I'm speaking about that line of argument. It sounds really tone deaf because the things that people are receiving from the government, it's not like Daddy Warbucks going off and giving $500. to people just because it's stuff that you have to apply for. I was on the computer this morning before I had to be in court, trying to help out a client who is in the Polk County Jail right now, apply for Medicaid and for some state assistance, mainly for a number of reasons. He has issues getting state assistance issues with sort of his plans moving forward because there's no help for him to get on his feet, like, get some housing, get into a stable situation. He's been homeless, in and out of jail a lot, and trying to find a way for him to get some stability in his life and become a productive member of society. He's not going to be able to do that, especially with his criminal history. It's hard for him to find work. People get into themselves in these kinds of situations all the time. And I was struck by... And he's severe psychological problems he's been diagnosed with for years and years and years that have prevented him from leading a normal life, or what we would consider to be a normal life. And what I was struck by was, first of all, there was no paper copy of the state DHS benefits or aid, like the food aid and all that kind of stuff. No paper copy that I could find. And so if a listener wants to call in and let me know how to get a hold of that would be great. I had to do it online, which is impossible because I can't bring a computer into the Polk County Jail. So I couldn't. I would have to go up and visit him and write down all of his pertinent information so I can fill out this application form and submit it for him. But I wasn't able to do that today. So that was one thing. That was one hurdle. The other hurdle is that the questionnaire is 6, 8 pages long. There's a lot of information that the government requires of you before they even process your application to determine whether or not you're even eligible. And so this idea that these folks are getting handouts from the government for nothing, it really...
All right, so you're telling me they're getting handouts from the government because
that's not what I said. That's what he said. That's what Mr. Carney said.
So, in other words, they're not doing anything. They're hiring a lawyer to fill out 8 pages of documents? Really?
No.
I'm bugging you.
No, that's a completely mischaracterization.
Yes, and I understand.
It's a favor that I was doing for him.
Yes, absolutely. And now let's talk just a little bit about mental health and public safety. We only have about 2 minutes, minute and a half. So I'm going to try to make this quick.
I would love to spend the next segment talking about that too.
All right. Well, then we'll talk about that. We'll talk about this just a little bit. Blake's client. This is a very common story. I hear it all the time. There are places in Polk County that he can go and receive his services for free, or especially mental illness things. You have Irely Ball. Broadline's not so much anymore, but you have Irely Ball.
That's the issue. Irely Ball won't help him because he doesn't have Medicaid. That was what they told me. They said he did not qualify for residential and housing assistance because no one could pay the bill.
Well, oh man.
Yep.
Well,
exactly. Golden Circle.
Let's take a commercial, and I'm going to look this up because this is. Oh my goodness! All right, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back after the break. We're going to talk about mental illness and public safety. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be right back after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back. You know, this is one of the things that I really enjoy about doing the show with you, Doc, is that we were sitting in the after Mr. Carney left, we were sitting in our seats here wondering, what the heck are we going to talk about for the next half hour, because we're both busy
because we planned on having Daryl the whole time, but apparently he had to leave.
Well, he's busy out there raising money for Republicans, so he's got to
go out and bust, put shoes on the street and get some people in there.
Absolutely, and get the rest of those tickets for his event sold.
Absolutely.
We were kind of at a loss for. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in national, local news, but at this point, we hadn't really prepared. We
should never admit that.
Just to put it out there.
No, we should not admit that. We're just flowing along.
I want to endear us to the slacker lefty stoners who listen to my part of the show. Anyway, I love you. You're all my people. Anyway, but then we're sort of chatting about something else that intersects both of our careers, and here we've got a segment. Mental health and public safety is a gigantic issue in Iowa. Iowa, for all of the good things that happen in Iowa, for my opinion, mental health, and you would agree with this, I think, mental health resources that intersect with public safety are vastly underfunded. They oftentimes are difficult for folks to access because they're complicated to figure out. And most of the time, these guys, and it's mainly men that have these issues, don't get the help they need until after they've been arrested and they have an attorney. And in my case, in the situation they were talking about, who is court appointed, so that's another drain on state resources. They have to use us to kind of go out and pound the pavement for them, which we don't always have time to do. So you talk a little bit about some of the services that are available, and have a little bit of a discussion about mental health and public safety.
Well, I will tell you, the fact that your client couldn't get services through Irely Ball is very surprising to me. I think people who listened to the last segment, really did see the doc get caught flat-footed, which does not happen very often. I will tell you that there are resources available out there for people with mental illness that can't afford treatment. There are clinics that will take you in. There are, Broadlands doesn't do it much anymore, but you can go there. Used to be you could go to Irely Ball, but apparently that's not the.
You can go to Irely Ball.
You just had to be on Medicaid.
But it depends, because you can go to Irely Ball through the jail diversion program, but if you have a residency issue, I don't know if this is like an actual distinction that they make, or if it's just because they've evaluated my client in the past.
He's not a resident of Polk County?
No, he has housing needs.
All right.
And that would be a little bit more intensive from a cost standpoint. If they're trying to find a place for a person to live who has a housing stability issue, we're talking chronic homelessness, which I studied while I was in law school, and we did my little student organization that I was in dealt with that a lot. How the homelessness problem in Iowa looks different than it does in other areas of the country, because you don't have a lot of guys sitting out on the street corner, but you have families, you have single mothers, you have and some men as well who are maybe in a house for a month, and they can't make the rent. Then they move someplace, or they try and move someplace, but they can't. I mean,
because nobody comes here for the weather.
No, I mean, some of the stories that I've heard from some of these guys that I represent is, look, just let me. I mean, I can take care of myself on the street. I know where to go. I know the places that I can find services, and I can go to Churches United. I can go to these different other places like the Hope House. I can do all these different things. I just need to get out of jail. Of course, the county attorney and the judge is not going to be satisfied with letting these guys back on the street and letting them do whatever they want as far as their housing is concerned.
Well, but as sympathetic as that story sounds, one of the things you have to keep in mind is people usually wind up in jail for a reason. And, like the two girls that got abducted yesterday up by Webster City by a guy named Klunder, I think is how you pronounce it. This guy's been in prison a lot. He's been in prison a lot for abduction. He's been in prison a lot for kidnapping. And he was serving, I believe, a 20-year sentence. Or no, a 41-year sentence. This is from KCCI. A 41-year sentence, served half his sentence, got released in 2011, and within 2 years, kidnapped these two girls up there. One of them's still missing. One of them's there. He's now dead. But you have to keep in mind, this isn't necessarily a mental illness problem, but it's a criminal problem. And where you get this obsessive thought, is that really a mental health issue? If you have an obsession you can't get over, if you know it's bad, but you still have to act on it, that falls under the mental illness category. And when you have a person with schizophrenia that commits a crime, he still has to pay the price, but he also needs treatment at that time.
Mm-hmm. And that's the point.
How do you do that? How do you reconcile somebody who's committed an atrocity with somebody who's mentally ill? And that's one of the problems. Andrew Yates in Texas is an example I always use.
Well, and I tend to agree. Well, let me put it this way. I agree with the I don't know if you can agree with the question, but I understand the question that you raise. And the thing is, a lot of these guys are. I see it every day. I did it. I did one today where I had a guy plead guilty and he's going to prison. A lot of these cases, when the facts are against you and the state can prove its case, these guys are not trying to get away with something most of the time. Some of them do, but most of the time they're pleading guilty and they're taking their punishment and they're doing whatever they need to do. But the issue that I have is our criminal justice system, the punitive and / rehabilitative justice system that we have in this country, is designed to take criminals, punish them for the wrong they did, but then at the same time rehabilitate them back into society where they can be reintegrated. And if you are telling me, and I'm a sort of a general you, not you in particular, but if you're telling me that there are folks in society that can't be rehabilitated or shouldn't be rehabilitated, well, then that speaks to a larger problem.
Well, it isn't.
Long term.
Well, yeah, and it isn't the fact that these people won't be rehabilitated. It's as we all know, recidivism is the rate at which people reoffend. The problem is there are certain things that people, no matter how much time they spend in rehabilitation, no matter how much time they spend in prison, no matter what you do, are going to continue to offend. Sex offenders are much like this. Once you mix in sex with, violence, that is a lethal combination that usually winds up with somebody getting hurt. When you start getting fixated sexually on children, nothing but bad is going to happen after that. And there isn't really anything you can do to change their drive. I know there's sex offender programs, but short of castration, these things really do not have the success rate that justifies the cost.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I remember from a few years ago, I can't cite the study for you, but I remember from a few years ago, and then more recently, listening to the radio, that new sex offender recidivism studies have started to demonstrate that those old kind of, these guys will never get better, that the recidivism rate's too high, that the crimes are too bad. They're just, and that was all the justification for the 2,000-foot rule back in 2004
which is stupid,
and 05, right? But that those previous studies are starting to become debunked. Not that recidivism doesn't happen, because you see a lot of multiple offense sex offenders, but that the rate of recidivism for the sex offender population as a whole is not nearly as severe as had first been previously reported. Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. We have to take a break. We're going to take a break right now. When we get back, that's the question I'm going to answer, because the answer is very simple. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. We're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. We'll be back in a minute.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little, until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Lefty with Doc and Lefty. I want to thank all of our sponsors for sticking with us through the good times and the better times. We don't think we've had any bad times on this show, but we do really appreciate their patronage. I want you to check them all out. They are the reason that this studio exists, and they're the reason that we're able to do what we do here. One of the things that I always find fascinating about how we end shows is that it seems to be we talk about the most horrific, terrible social problems at the end of the show, when we should
just
be talking
to go out
about,
on a positive
note. When I think about how some other radio programs and podcasts structure their shows, like the BBC World Service that I listen to twice a day, every day, they'll talk about all the bad stuff up front, but always have a soft news story to go out on, or something in pop culture, like the organ player from the Ralph Manzarek from the Doors passed away, and had been battling cancer for a long time, which isn't a happy story, but it's at least it's better than talking about sex offenders and recidivism rates. But the question, just to remind everybody, was: had you seen some of the studies that said the recidivism isn't nearly as bad as previously thought? Yeah, and there's a very easy explanation for that, and that is the definition of what a sex offender is changed. When you have kids that are, let's say one is 22 and one is 17, a lot of times the mom will, if there's a breakup, they'll file charges against the boy. A lot of times if they're younger, like one's 18, one's 15, the same scenario. So these people really aren't sex offenders. They're just defined as that. And it's called status crimes. And a status crime is something along the lines of, if you get caught smoking and you're under 18, well, now it's a crime, right? Whereas if you just wait to a few days or months to a magical number that means nothing, suddenly you're not a criminal. So a lot of these status crimes impact these things. And as the recidivism rate does fall, mainly it's these sex offenders that aren't truly sex offenders but status offenders, then the rates will adjust themselves. If you look back at traditional definitions of sex offenders like pedophiles, rapists, things like that, these the recidivism rate has held pretty steady no matter what you do and how you treat them. That's the studies we know. And some of these studies may be debunked, but I can tell you in the psychiatric profession, there's a tremendous drive to try to figure out ways to help these people, and we haven't come up with anything yet, short of castration. Castration works fairly well for male sex offenders. The problem is there's more female sex offenders than male sex offenders, which is always surprising. A lot of them have made the news lately, but keep in mind, there's two things that keep males from reporting sex abuse by a female. One, if you didn't like it, why'd you get an erection, right? Geez, you must have liked it. You responded. And that's very problematic for men. And the second one is, a lot of times when these kids are being the boys are being sexually abused by a woman, you get the wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. And so a lot of this is cultural that you go back, that, holds people from reporting that back. Well, do you think, though, that a lot of the reason why male sex offenders are more sensationalized and more talked about are because their crimes tend to be more violent? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. There was an excellent article today, and I wish I could remember it, but it talks about how women have always fought. It just depends on the culture and what the culture wants to see. And that's kind of what we're facing now. One of the things that I want to point out, teenagers are stupid. We all know that. And they do a lot of high risk things, and they always think that the risk is not going to
they weigh the risks and the benefits, and they usually are more risk tolerant. One of the things that you need to tell your daughters and be clear about it, women are victims. We're not talking today about teenage boys getting kidnapped up there. That doesn't happen that often. But we're talking about two teenage girls, or one almost teenager, accepting a ride from a stranger. You have to talk to your children about, even in a small town, if you don't know them, just wait for the bus. Give us a call. Do what you need to do. Now, to end this show on a high note, and it's not going to be a very nice segue, but I'm reading on here that both Gronstall and Craig Paulson have said that probably tomorrow will be the last day of the session.
Really?
Yep. And that they anticipate being able to work something out so that, both sides are going to be happy. And it's basically the three big things: property taxes, because they're trying to work out something where, like property owners like me can get a break. The amount of taxes I pay on my building is ridiculous. And two, that property owners won't get stuck holding the bag, and that they'll get a break as well. And then, of course, people that own apartment buildings for rent, if you reduce the taxes on that building, you reduce the amount of money you have to charge for rent on your building.
Well, I know that was one of the big ones, and I'd also heard reported on Monday that the Medicaid expansion might even be able to get done because out of nowhere, a compromise between the Democrats and the governor it's kind of popped up. They were kind of sketchy on the details of what the third plan was going to be, and that education, they had finally come to some sort of agreement about the amount of money they were going to be spending. They started like $70 million or apart, or $70 billion or whatever it was. I think it was $70 million apart, and had kind of started whittling that away. So they might get everything done, and then our good friends Tom Shaw and Brad Zahn won't have to come back later in the summer.
Well, I think they like being on here. I do, because they both love us. Both of us.
Did
you know that?
I did know that.
So anyway, I'm excited about that. They're gonna be resolving this education problem, and they're also going to be coming up with a compromise on the healthcare debate, which is very important. Now, I do want to say a couple things before we tune out. First of all, Cirrus Minor, which is a local band that is, really great. And they've been gracious enough to even say on one of their first albums that we could use it as some promo music. And I have the CD at home. I don't know why we're not using it, but they're going to be coming in next week. And it's going to be a music fest with Lefty, because I'm, again, heading out. And so I won't be tuning in next week. I won't be able to, but I think that's very exciting to have local musicians on, especially.
I always enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, our producer routinely reminds me that the best shows are the ones where I'm not here and Lefty's running it. Now, I'm not quite sure if Frank likes his job or he's just too honest or what the deal is. But anyway, that's what I'm always reminded of. And then the second thing I want to remind everybody about, if you haven't gone up to Famous Dave's on 22nd Street today to eat dinner, go on up there. The money that they collect today, 10% of that goes to Youth Homes of Mid-America, which is a fabulous organization. People should be donating to it anyway, right? It's a great thing. 3, don't forget the Polk County dinner coming up, polkgop.com. You get all kinds of tickets. It's going to be a great venue and a great meal. And then the last thing is, don't forget Des Moines Anesthesia, because pain can really impact your quality of life. So if you have some pain, you need to get a hold of them. Lefty, anything going on for you this weekend?
Well, it's Memorial Day. And
that's right.
And so my folks are coming down to visit. I've got a gig at the Flying Moose in Clive on Thursday. If anyone wants to come out, I think it's going to get kicked off around 8 o'clock ish. Play for a few hours up there. I was at Ducktail in Clive, in our old stomping grounds, in the Clive neighborhood, just on Saturday, which is always a great time. Otherwise, get out and do something. The weather is finally nice, with the exception of the storm last night that didn't last very long. And enjoy the community, because we've got a good one, and it is there for everyone's benefit.
That's right. Now we'll be back. Blake will be back here next week. You can always find us on YouTube, Doc and Lefty channel. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcastonelive.com.
We'll see you next week.
Love these guys. Get over here. Get over here. Love both of them.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.